learn with me what the heck is going on. Someone needs to get this message to the defense. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
I'm always confident in my team.
Reed's defense team maintains she's innocent, the victim of a law enforcement cover-up.
God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
There is so much going on. Every time I think I'm not going to record a video or I'm done editing a video, it's time to record another video, and we are 2 days in. No, that's a fact that we all, because we've taken many hours out of our lives to investigate this case, we all know that that is absolutely false. This guy is just the world's biggest on every level that a person could be. Between incompetence and stupidity, Michael Proctor wins the award for a combination of both. There's just no way they could have gotten into a huge brawl in 7 minutes. It's just not possible. Who are all the powers that be? Look at the smile on his face there. Did you see that, by the way? Did you see the smile on his face in that? I didn't notice this until right now. But that it would have been an accident, the way that the John O'Keefe investigation was handled. In addition to being two of the world's smartest engineers and scientists, they are also two of the world's leading subjects. Those ARCA guys, man, they are just more and more impressive. Man, this guy is like dishonest to his core. Morning, everybody. Police cars, ambulances, fire department, emergency vehicles, and you, Brian Albert, a man who, by every measure, appears to be the man of the house. Stoic, he's a guy in charge, protects his family first and foremost, right? At no point do you wake up or go outside and say to somebody, why are you here? What if there was a gunman? Because you don't know. How do I know? There's 40 cops in front of my very small front yard. That's the bedroom window. Here's Sonny. Say hi, everybody. There's my friend. Hello. Sonny barks if you walk by my window and sneeze.
God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
I wasn't going to record a video today, but then I stumbled upon this.
The key cycle 1162 contained the two triggers that you're talking about, right?
Yes.
That's the 3-point turn, I guess now a 3-point turn, right? Changing direction, and then
yes.
The reverse at 24 miles per hour, correct?
Correct.
Here's the car at key cycle 1162 making a 3-point turn, driving the car onto the tow truck bed. More brilliant testimony from Trooper Paul, far and away, our favorite Massachusetts State Police officer. Consciousness of guilt. He comes unraveled because he's not in control.
Who, if anyone else, was involved in those conversations?
The district attorney.
That would be Mr. Morrissey, is that correct?
Yes.
There you go. There's who our decision makers are from Michael
At some point over
Proctor's
the course of this
perspective.
case,
Unbelievable.
Closer up. Now you're starting to see the blurs easier.
You see those
The
two blurs?
are moving around.
For a while now, I've thought that Jen McCabe's behavior is a little odd. Doesn't try to get the blankets. This man that she claims on the stand that she loved so much. He was my friend who I loved so much. There is no possible way that Jen McCabe could have searched something at 2:27 and it had shown up at 6 something. Whatever timestamp was on that deleted wall file is the time that she did that search. And she deleted it. Let's make sure and pin it on this girl who I hope kills herself. That's a class act. You are a class act, Michael Proctor. Definitely someone should give you a gun and a badge. 100% sure that Karen did not do this.
God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Can you hear me now? Am I live? Oh my God, I can't figure out how to get this stupid screen the right way. Exactly like I knew this was gonna happen. Hi everybody. Just give me a second here. Wait, up. I did it! Welcome. This is the I Don't Belong Here show, and I am your host, Samantha Benigno. I am a behavioral scientist, a career psychotherapist, a sixth-year PhD candidate in clinical psychology, a master's level psychologist and counselor, and I am here breaking down the Karen Reed case. Whew, man. What a day. Day 9 in the books. And I have to tell you, by the end of the day, I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but I was like just shot. I sat down at the computer at like 5 o'clock after everything was done. And I was like, what even happened? Like, who even testified today? And I watched all of it, every single second of it. That's what happens with this trial, though. I mean, it's like exhausting. You really have to listen, and it requires a tremendous amount of effort and energy. So it took me forever, and it felt like the toxicologist from the beginning of the day could have been 3 weeks ago. That's how many people testified, and that is how much went on today. It's a crazy day when there's lots of witnesses, in particular because sometimes they're quick, but it's like you have to reorient to each witness. So it's tough. This trial, man. It's exhausting. It really, really, really is. But I did it. I made it. I am here. I'm not really sure how to work any of this, so it's going to be clunky. You got to bear with me. Hang in there with me as I stumble my way through how to work this StreamYard system. My sister is going to probably be joining me in just a little bit. We're going to do some review of today and some of the key points that seemed important to mention. And, a lot happened. Today was a big day. So there's a lot to go over. There's absolutely no way. I was doing the review myself before this, and there's just no way. I mean, we would be here until 4 o'clock in the morning, but we'll try to get to as much or the key points as we can. And then some other interesting things that came up today. I feel like the very first thing that happened today just sort of, it sort of just sums up this trial, right? It really, really does. First thing that happens is there's a misunderstanding about whether or not we're moving away from the toxicologist, even though in my mind, it was 100% clear that, the defense had not finished with the toxicologist. I mean, it was just very, very clear. But I noticed it because, the judge, Bev, actually asked Brennan at the end of the day yesterday, like, are you going to ask any questions? And so there was a weird moment at the end of the day. And then, of course, we started with that weird misunderstanding that the judge thought we were done with the witness. And so the witness had to come back in. Again, it's just like that, right? This trial is it's just in every moment. It's exhausting. It's like pulling teeth. It's just a battle. The judge just shows tremendous, it's unimaginable favoritism. And, I was thinking about this, and I will mention this quickly. I was thinking about what it must be like when Judge Bev is not at work, because you cannot tell me that this woman is not recognized everywhere that she goes. I mean, especially in the Boston area, anywhere in Massachusetts, this woman is forever attached to this case. Whatever she did before, the entirety of her career, however many 40 years it's probably been, all washed away. Now she's Judge Bev, and she has many other names that I won't repeat right now. And it's just this constant favoritism. To me, it's like this woman is never going to live this down. Never. Like, you're going to have to live with this like a scarlet letter for the rest of your life. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand. And the other thing that drove me nuts today, it's like disheartening, right? It's like heartbreaking to see this. These witnesses, and the one thing, and Hank Brennan, you got to give the man credit where he deserves it. He certainly has prepared these people really well, much more so. Well, I don't know if Adam Lally, if we can even call it preparation, he probably didn't do much. definitely Hank has these people prepared, right? Each and every one has come out and had their like little statements, their rehearsed remarks that they're supposed to get in, and that Hank, of course, leads them into because he just loves leading the witnesses. I'm not even an attorney, and I can tell with every question, pretty much, he's leading the witnesses. It's at the point now where like the defense doesn't even bother objecting. They're just like, whatever, we got other things to do now. So, it's exhausting, this case. Absolutely, absolutely exhausting. But it just doesn't make sense to me, right? It's like, don't you want to be fair? Don't you don't you want to be, remembered in somewhat of a positive light? Like, what are these people getting out of it? So all morning, all day, every witness that Hank has prepped is ready to go to bat for the prosecution. Like, I don't know. I've seen other trials, and I guess I've seen something similar in some of the other trials that I've watched. It just feels like these witnesses are gunning so hard to put Karen Read behind bars, and they will just do gymnastics. They will twist themselves into knots, however they have to make sure that Karen Read goes to jail. Like, stupid things. For example, like with Nagel today, and the whole shenanigans, the whole ridiculous nonsense about whether or not Ryan Nagel was invited into the house. Like, I don't know if you noticed this. I don't remember this from the last trial. Somebody's going to have to remind me or tell me if you noticed this and whether or not it came up during the last trial. I really, honestly do not think it did. But I didn't check. I did check some of the other witnesses from today to see, what was different in their testimony. But I didn't get to him because he was so much further back in the day. I just ran out of time. But there's this whole little exchange where they're both emphasizing that he was invited into the house, as if to say, no, nothing nefarious is going on. See, we invited my brother into the house and it was just totally normal. Everything is normal inside the house. They make a point, and it's that kind of stuff. It's these little tiny details that, I'm sure the jury is not as attentive or as aware of these details, but certainly from our view as those of us that have watched every second of the last trial, it's exhausting to watch these people like fight so hard to try to put Karen Read in jail. It's nuts. And the one thing I will say now too, at first it was a little annoying. I mean, certainly these cross-examinations have just been brutal for Alan Jackson, and it was annoying when he would go back to the first responders, the video clip, the infamous video from the dash cam videos from the morning, from the 6 o'clock hour on January 29th. It was annoying to have to go back, and you're watching the first responders. You can barely make out who's on the screen, right? Sometimes there's the windshield wipers. I mean, it is what it is. But I'm now recognizing that Alan Jackson is doing an incredible job of, like somehow connecting each of these "I hit him" statements and their timing, to these visuals, so that the jury is going to start to realize, like, oh, these things are not happening at the same time. Like, these people all have different stories. And today with Katie McLaughlin, she makes this, whole thing about Officer Saraf first of all, that's another testimony that I would like to go back and review, because I didn't get a chance to review hers either. It seemed this time like there was a lot more detail. Now, sometimes when I look back at the testimony from last trial, my hunch is right. They are adding or changing testimony, but sometimes it is exactly the same, and I just missed it the first time. So I don't know whether or not she said it last time also, that whole incident where she says that the officer heard her say, "I hit him," and then she turns to him and he calls for his sergeant. That little episode, and then Alan Jackson tries to have her kind of point it out on the screen. And of course, he doesn't remember her saying, "I hit him." So of course, Jackson is trying to impeach all of these witnesses, and considering how hard it is and how much work this man is having to put in, holy, I mean, the Jennifer McCabe testimony alone, I think, Alan Jackson deserves an award because she was just brutal. And that went on for 2 days. I mean, so this trial, it's insane, right? I mean, it's insane and it's intense. It's a lot. You definitely need to chill out after. If I was a drinker, I would definitely be looking forward to it's 5 o'clock somewhere after the trial is over just to calm down because it's intense. It's definitely a lot. Interesting too. I don't know if anybody saw the live feed with Nurse Kim when she was coming back. So she had been at the trial today. It's wonderful. She's awesome. She's just amazing. But it was interesting hearing her because I think of her as kind of like one of us, obviously an insider because she's been at this forever and she's a native. But she had said this was her first day in trial, an actual trial, not pre-trial stuff, and talked about the intensity and how just the vibe in the courtroom and how serious it feels. And you can imagine, of course, it feels serious. She also talked about how young the jury is, and that's interesting. Another thing she said that made me feel really encouraged, I was very excited about this. She said that they seem to perk up when they see that Alan Jackson is speaking. They seem to be paying attention. I also heard someone else reference that they seem to be taking copious notes, which is and also that they seem to be glazing over a bit with Hank Brennan, which makes sense. And maybe that's why he's shouting. I don't know if you've noticed he started screaming in the courtroom with every witness. Hank Brennan. I know some people, and maybe just generally he's a better lawyer than Adam Lally, but I'm having a hard time. Hank is tough. He is tough to take. In fact, so what I do, my everyday thing is to wait an hour after the trial starts, unless I have clients or whatever. But if I can, I wait an hour and try to get behind so that I can fast forward through Hank's voice, just listen at the highest speed so that I don't have to hear it because, that man, he's just a horrible human being in every way. So anyway, that is kind of just, my off the cuff thoughts thinking about today. My sister's going to come on and we're going to review in more detail things that happened today and the witnesses and, go through it all. But there's something that I wanted to talk about first. It's driving me a little crazy. And I'm sure for those of you that are free Karen Read supporters, this is annoying also because, and this has started a year ago. So I actually came into the trial almost a year ago, like to the day, like right now, last year is when I first, found the case and started paying very, very close attention. So, since then, I think, well, a couple of things. So first, we've seen Hank Brennan has these themes. He has these things that he using Karen Read's own words against her. And this question about how much are her words going to hurt her. What I'm noticing is the naysayers, the people that are just like, oh, she's guilty. She did it, right? Doesn't matter what ARCA says or anybody else. They're biased and she did it. That's it. It's just what they're using seems to be the I hit him statements or the could I have hit him statements. Either way, whether it's I hit him or could I have hit him. And we're going to hear in a moment, we're going to watch a clip where we're going to get somebody's firsthand view on this. So it's the I hit him statements. And then it also seems to be the tail light. Like for some reason, the combination of her saying that and the idea that like it would take so many people, a cover up is just not imaginable, right? It's just too unrealistic. No way, couldn't happen. She must have hit him. No matter what the evidence is, no matter how many Michael Proctors there are, what his text messages and the obvious, I mean, just undeniable bias to the point where this man was fired, which is very hard to do, from the Massachusetts State Police, right? So no matter what the evidence says, people that have this opinion are just, they're hell-bent. They're stuck on it. So I'm going to show you exactly what I mean. And this is a clip from News Nation. I'm sure many of you saw it. This is from last week with Mark Betterow. So let's see if I can get this to work.
Here's the part that I don't understand, okay, right?
Oh.
I don't understand the motive. And I know motive's not an element of a crime, and especially for the defense, they don't have to prove it. But I can understand the prosecution story here, that either Karen Reed was so upset at John O'Keefe, she deliberately backed up the SUV to run him over, might be shaky, or that she was heavily intoxicated, ran him over recklessly, realized she might have done it, couple that with the idea of, did I hit him? Did I hit him questioning it? I don't quite understand what would be the motive for John O'Keefe to go in that house. There's some fight that breaks out. They beat him up, leave him to die, put him outside, and then, my goodness, they frame Karen Reed, and how lucky for them that she goes, and says, allegedly, I hit him, says things that implicate herself. It seems to me, I just don't understand what would be the reason that he would be killed by people in that house.
Well, you may not know the reason, but the framework of the defense starts with science before you even get to what happened in the house. They're going to have expert witnesses, biomechanical engineers, and people with degrees that could go on longer than our arms. And what these individuals are going to say is that there was no accident that's consistent with the damage on the vehicle and damage with the car. And certainly the science would control. And you have to also factor in the burden of proof here. The defense has no burden.
Sure.
Prosecution's got to prove this beyond a reasonable doubt. If these witnesses are credible that there was no accident, then the rest of this is all excess.
I agree.
Okay, so we'll stop there. We're only going to watch another clip just in a moment, but you kind of get the gist, right? So what is he saying? He is saying Jesse Murphy, is that his name? I think that's his name. Jesse something. I'm terrible with names. I apologize, Jesse. It is definitely not personal. I have nothing against News Nation, but this idea that I can understand, the prosecution's story. I can understand that Karen Reed was freaked out and crazy and angry, and either she did it, because she was drunk and she did it by accident, or she did it on purpose, but she probably just did it. She was drunk. She probably did it. Right. So, and this is what I was saying in my last video. I don't know if you saw that, but it's very frustrating because with this case, you have to scratch, behind the surface. You have to look behind the wall, and it requires effort and energy and thought and careful dissection of the pieces. And you can see that even in the case, even in the trial, that's how it feels. just watching all of this, it feels like that. It's you really have to use a lot of energy. You have to think carefully. And if you don't want to do that, or you're not interested, or you just yeah, it's too much thinking. You know what? She did it. So, but I mean, I'm laughing, but it's really not funny because this woman's life is on the line. And more than that, I mean, I think all of us, including Karen Reed, we all want to see justice for this Boston police officer, for John O'Keefe. And this is crazy. It's just crazy. I mean, yeah, All right, let's listen to a little bit more here.
I agree, and I've said this to you before we went on air. I cover cases all the time where you hear the defense say this is a tainted investigation, the investigators had tunnel vision. It's a common argument. This is the only one where I say you actually should really listen up. I think they were given a gift with Michael Proctor, okay, lead investigator in this case, right? Completely sloppy, said horrible things about Karen Reed. I get it. But the idea that taillight would be taken and planted at the scene, that there would be this deliberate effort to frame Karen Reed. There's so much effort to be put into that. The jury might not need a motive, and they might not need an explanation, but don't they have to say what's reasonable here, what's common sense?
You do, but again, you start with the science. If there is no car accident, but there are 45 or thereabout taillight pieces scattered along the lawn, then how did they get there? If it's not a natural consequence of a car accident, then they got there in some other way. And, your first instinct is to say, come on, how could that be? But then you enter the world of Michael Proctor, and it's not just that he's sloppy, he's corrupt. I mean, he's terminated from employment because of his conduct in this case. He was found to have been biased in this investigation, amongst other things. Beyond looking for nudes, beyond wishing that she would kill herself.
Horrible.
He was found to be biased, so it becomes more plausible. Is there a timeline that it fits? The evidence is going to show in this case that there is a timeline, and then you get to a series of text messages and behavior by Jennifer McCabe, Brian Higgins, Brian Albert, and others who begin texting each other in the days following in a way that is not natural or normal for people who are doing nothing but grieving the loss of their friend.
I agree with you. There's weird stuff, right? Yeah. Why did Brian Albert allegedly not come out of the house? Why was his house not searched? I get it. There's weird stuff. There's a lot for the defense to work with, and she's got great lawyers. Here's the part. Talking about Jen McCabe, right? She said how hysterical Karen Reed was, that she was screaming over and over, that Reed allegedly said, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? You couple that with Reed's statements that she did in the media, which are key pieces of evidence for the prosecution here about speculating if she hit John O'Keefe. You couple that with the testimony of the first responder, Timothy Nuttall, who said, Karen Reed said, I hit him. It feels hard to square away why she would have said those things unless she might have had an indication she thought she hit him.
Okay. I found your comments. This is so exciting. I couldn't figure out where to go, so I found everybody. That's very exciting. And we're definitely going to take a closer look at those in just a minute. And thank you, Denise. His last name is Weber, Jesse Weber. So yes. And that, when I heard his arguments or his comments, these are the quintessential comments that you hear when people are skeptical. They're like, oh, it's just too much. And there's too many coincidences. And Karen Reed is a complicated person, right? And for me, psychologically, just because of probably just what's innate after a trillion years of training and school and working in the field and working with people every day, when I see this case, I have no questions about Karen Reed. She, to me, is a very open book and very transparent. I see very clearly what's going on with her. So it's never been an issue. I've never had questions about Karen Reed. That's why I'm asking you guys about that. I would love to hear what you think. Do you think that that her statements are going to get her in big trouble? Do you think that they are biasing the jury? Are they biasing you? Because the truth is, right, at the end of the day, I mean, no matter what any of us think, the only people that matter are the jury. And so for me, Karen Reed is such an open book that it's hard for me to see how everybody else doesn't see that. And so that is the point that I want to just briefly touch on here before my sister joins us. I want to talk about why I have such a hard time seeing her as guilty. In other words, to me, her behavior, soup to nuts, makes total sense. And probably if I did not go through the 90 Brian Higgins text messages, if I didn't go through the John O'Keefe messages, the messages from their argument that day, right? And hadn't watched any of the documentaries. If we didn't have, now we have copious amounts of footage, right? So, yeah, I mean, and to me, you don't just, Hank Brennan loves to use that, like her thoughts, her desire to talk. He tries to frame it as consciousness of guilt, as evidence that she's trying to make up stories to basically build a narrative that's more favorable to her. And the crazy part about that, from where I'm sitting, is she's the only person out of everyone, the witnesses, every witness, all of them, that exactly doesn't have butt dials, right? That's not so shady. That's not butt dialing at 3 a.m. and, having to hire a whole elaborate team of tech people to find a way to get out of this Google search having happened, right? I mean, it's like, it's insanity. I mean, it's really, really, it's really insane. So what I want to do, and then I promise I will read your chats and we'll we'll do a Q&A. Absolutely. I just want to show you a little bit. I want to give you a little bit of insight into why it is that I can't see Karen Reed as guilty because of who she is, because of her personality. To me, it's Karen Reed's personality that ultimately makes it obvious why she would run around screaming, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? I do not believe she did say I hit him. So I don't believe that that happened. And if you do, you do. Great. I don't. I think it's pretty clear, based on everything that I've seen, the totality for the last year, that she likely said, could I have hit him? Did I hit him? That would be my guess. So let me just show you a couple of key points, and we're going to go through it. So first, here he is, Jesse Weber. So he says, I can understand the prosecution's story here, that either Karen Reed was so upset at John that she deliberately backs up the SUV to run him over, might be shaky. Now, I'm not even, most of you probably know how I feel about the key cycles, so I'm not even addressing that. I'm not even talking about the utter absurdity of the Commonwealth's argument, which we're going to get to, because, I can't wait to talk about that. That's something very exciting. I definitely want to wait for my sister for that. But something else that I'm noticing about Hank Brennan and where he's going with what has happened to John and his theory of the case. I mean, the absurdity level is just like growing, every second that Hank Brennan is on this case, the level of absurdity of what they're claiming has happened is just off the charts. And you better pray that none of those jurors in their little notebooks are writing down the times because the timeline is a little off there, pal. A little off. But anyway, but again, I want to address this because people are having such a hard time with why she would say I hit him. So the first thing I want to do is just briefly address, why would she say I hit him? Now, I will agree with Jesse Weber that this idea that the Alberts and the McCabe's got lucky because Karen Reed did say, could I have hit him? Now that is probably the thing. And I think she even said this. Karen Reed actually said this. I think she said, what's the thing? Somebody asked, maybe it was in The Body in the Snow, what's the thing you regret the most? And she had said something like, I just regret the amount that I had been drinking back then. Not because of the incident per se, but just in general. And I would say, makes sense. Makes a lot of sense for a number of reasons. Now, the other thing that I just want to get out ahead of that I'm going to tell you up front, I do not believe that Karen Reed has any real memory of the night in question. I don't think she remembers clearly. Maybe it's a little bit like it's a foggy memory, but I don't think that she has any clear memory of 34 Fairview, of being at the house or dropping him off or which door he went into. I just don't believe that she remembers. She may have, coached herself, whether it was, innately or on purpose, into having a memory, but I don't actually think that she remembers anything from that night. And the reason why I say that, or at least not anything clearly enough. I mean, obviously she just doesn't have amnesia, but I think she was in what we would call, a brownout, right? And so she doesn't really remember enough. And most of us have had nights, probably rough nights like that, where, you kind of, it's blurry, but you kind of have a memory, but the way that she was so frantic. Now, the other thing that's important to understand about Karen Reed and this whole thing, I'm just going to bring it up now about how she saw him, because another thing that everybody brings up is, well, how could she have seen him? It was a whiteout conditions and he was in, he was covered in snow. How could Karen Reed have seen him lying there? Well, a couple of things. No matter what you think happened, Karen Reed was an absolute mess that morning. How do we know? Well, she called 50 times between 12:30 and 6:07 or whatever, when they finally find John that morning on the 29th. And so I think that's impressive. Like that's almost like record setting a number of phone calls. And again, if you go back and you look at the text messages and you really dissect them between Brian Higgins and Karen Reed and John, you get so much information about her. And when that is informing her decisions, her thoughts, her behavior on that morning, it all just makes perfect sense. And it really, really does. So now I'm going to bring this up and I'm going to show you, I just want to show you a few things about what I mean so you can see it. And I'm sure that some of you are going to have a reaction to it, but I really want you to, like I said, to have a sense of why it is that I'm very certain she didn't do this. Okay. And I mean, I can say with 100% certainty, she didn't do this on purpose. That I have absolute certainty. There's not a single doubt. There's no chance that Karen Reed did this. No chance. It just didn't happen. But it definitely also, by the way, did not happen the way the Commonwealth is claiming. If he actually was hit, which he wasn't, I would say I have like a 3% doubt. Just because 100% is just, 100% of anything feels like, maybe I don't want to get into that territory, but I am 100% sure that there's absolutely no chance that she did this on purpose. And I'm going to tell you why right now. And before we do that, I just want to also, again, come back to Jesse Weber's statements. Here he is talking about how hard it is to believe, like that he would go, that Proctor would go to the great lengths of the tail light. Now, planting the tail light. One other thing I want to say about that, I do not believe that, and I don't know how you guys feel, I do not believe that Michael Proctor, I don't believe he was trying to put this on Karen Reed. I believe he believes, and still to this day, wholeheartedly that she was guilty, but that they weren't going to have enough evidence. That no matter, they just weren't going to be able to prove it. And so the taillight wasn't to try to frame Karen Reed. It was to try to shore up their case. It was to try to make sure that the charges stick. And if you listen and dissect very carefully Michael Proctor's text messages, you will see one of the first things that we learn about Proctor is that he's very aware of what he can prove and what he can't prove. And that is the reason why, right there when I saw that, again, it's like everything in this case, they just confirm, they confirm what it is that you're suspicious of them about, right? It's just incredible. It's incredible. Okay, so you couple that with Reed's statements that she did in the media. Again, this is where her media statements keep coming back up, which, by the way, I don't even think, and this is why I need other people's perspective, because when I look at those statements, I mean, obviously, the Peg O'Keefe one and just how the lack of tastefulness by Brennan to want to play that immediately after we see Peg O'Keefe on the stand to play, what did she say? What is the comment that I forget the comment that, oh, he looks like he got hit by a car, right? That horrible face that she's making when she's making fun of her. I mean, okay, obviously that one, not great. Not a great look. Aside from that, I'm just not sure that I see these statements as so incriminating. But again, I can't probably admit I don't see it clearly. So, and here he is again asking, it feels hard to square away why she would have said those things unless she might have had an indication that she thought she hit him. So 2 things, okay? 1, how did she see him on the lawn that morning? And did she have an indication that she hit him? Just starting with the last one first, because it's easier. The reality is that when you are so the first thing, and I'm sure some of you know this, but when you're in a state of fight or flight, and, hopefully none of us have to be in that level of heightened sensory, you're in such an acute state of central nervous system stimulation that one of the first things that happens is how information is taken in through the senses, how you are perceiving reality shifts. And it shifts almost like, it almost has like a stimulant kind of vibe, right? I mean, you're just in such a incredible state of overwhelm. And when your body is in that level of intensity, it changes. It changes what you see. And so it makes perfect sense to me. While it might sound like a reach, it makes perfect sense that with that kind of just the level of total overwhelm and total panic that she was in looking for John on that morning, it really does make sense to me that her senses would be like at such a heightened state of alert that she would have seen John and it would have been easier to spot him. That part too, it's frustrating to hear because to me, again, it's just really obvious. Like that's what happens when we're in those types of primal mood states. Everything changes, senses, perception, everything changes. So, but one thing I just want to make, and we're not going to go through a point I want to make, right? Brennan is trying to say that all of these behaviors by Karen Read are intentionally manipulative, that she's doing weird stuff, that she's got to get the car away from the, One Meadows address. And again, it's like, well, yeah, but we all do crazy shit. I mean, we all do. And particularly when it comes to guilt. So this is for another discussion because I've got my sister coming in and I want to make sure we get to all this other stuff. But I just want to review why it is that Karen Read would have said, could I have hit him? Right? This is so important. So we use this term like narcissism in a really negative, pejorative way to say that people are selfish, right? And yes, there is that. That is not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about here is a diagnostic term that has a legitimate meaning connected to it. But that meaning is on a spectrum. In other words, on one end of the spectrum, you might have something like sociopathy, right? The kinds of things that many of us true crime folks we see a lot of. On the other end of the spectrum, you have what looks to be pretty normal, right? Your run-of-the-mill, colleague, you're a coworker, a friend from college, it looks pretty normal. And I mean, some of us will identify with the traits that I'm about to go through. But, and this is so important, I do not know enough about Karen Read to make this particular, diagnosis really, but even claim. Importantly, substance use disorders, when somebody is engaged in a substance use disorder, it looks just like narcissism. If you came to me and you're in the throes of a substance use problem, I cannot say that you're narcissistic because on paper, you cannot distinguish them, so in terms of behavior. So I don't know. Does Karen Read have a drinking problem? I don't think so. I've got no indicators of that, but I just want to say I can't rule that out because clearly, she was drinking a lot back then. I don't know. So I just want to go through a couple of these key points and then we'll bring my sister in and get her take on this too. So critical, like the currency for somebody that has a personality that is more on the narcissistic side or on the narcissism spectrum, the currency is attention. Everything they do for attention, right? Think of it like this. None of this is on purpose. It's all survival. It's all about how they developed to try to get their needs met. And, it's not a comfortable way to live either. And I know that we use these words, we throw them around pretty haphazardly. That person's a narcissist. That person's narcissistic. But it's a real thing. And what it essentially means is somebody has incredibly low self-esteem. And as a result of that is trying to use other people to get their needs met, to feel better about themselves. And as a result of that, it creates a lot of issues. It creates unstable relationships, a lot of fighting in your love partners. You'll see the struggles with empathy. One thing that I noticed from people, a lot of people don't like Karen. They think that she looks like she's arrogant. They think that she's making faces. She shouldn't dress this way, or her skirts are too short, or she whatever. I mean, based solely on how she presents and some of the things that they may hear in news clips, maybe on Dateline. But at the end of the day, again, that makes sense to me why they wouldn't love her, because she has a narcissistic personality framework that comes across in how she engages with the world, right? And what is that? All right. So what does all this have to do with the could I have hit him thing? The bottom line is this. And there's a very long list, and I want to make sure that we bring my sister in, so I don't want to go through this whole list, but there's a long list. We could talk about this for weeks. There are many tells or traits or behaviors or indicators with Karen Read of being on a narcissistic spectrum, right? And as a result of that, there's no violent behavior. She's never had violence. She's never been violent. There's absolutely no way that somebody's just going to all of a sudden become violent at 45 years old. That just doesn't happen. It's absolutely not the case. Absolutely, that did not happen. But there are, at their core, when we use the term narcissistic, what do we mean? We mean selfish. And that's not exactly the same way that I'm using it here. What it means is everything is about me. I am the center of the world, and I see everything on the outside, not independently of me. So everything is a reflection of me. So of course, if Karen's in a situation where she can't find John, number one, she thinks he's cheating. She always jumps to the jealousy. And I don't know, for some people that may feel normal to be that jealous. But again, in a relationship in your 40s, most of us, we hope that we have overcome that kind of insecurity, which is really what it is, right? It's my attitude with that is like, look, if you don't want to be with me, like, go, like, I'm not going to run chasing you around, like begging you to stay with me or looking at your phone to make sure you're not with somebody else. Right. I mean, but if you have such a desperately low self-esteem, then you're constantly looking for that validation. You're constantly looking for people to say, no, we love you. Oh my God, you're so beautiful and you're great. And right. So, and I think for Karen, that's what the Brian Higgins thing was all about, right? That's what she was doing there. And again, very textbook to someone with narcissistic traits. Like they're engaging in a behavior, they're reasoning it through, rationalizing why it's okay. We see a lot of that in her actual texts to Higgins. And obviously she's trying to get with somebody else behind John's back. And again, I'm not judging for that. I'm really not. I have no judgment about that behavior. All I'm doing is pointing out that, again, these are characteristics of someone who is on that narcissism spectrum. So of course, if when Karen realizes that John was not with a woman, when he was not cheating, and all of a sudden it's starting to really sink in that something could have happened to him, of course she was going to make it about her. Of course she was going to make it about her. And I've heard this variant. I've heard from other people. I can see some of the comments like periodically that people think John's a narcissist. And I think that's fascinating because, I think John may have had, again, to what I was saying, John may have had substance use stuff. And that's kind of what I've heard actually from other people, like the word on the street. I don't know if it's true. If it is true, and it would make sense, just given the the landscape, right? He's an O'Keefe, and that town, Canton. I don't know if you all know this, but Canton is like notorious for being a drinking town, to the point where, and correct me if I'm wrong, some of you might know this better than me. People run around like they go from restaurant to restaurant with like those little mini bottles in a big bag for people to just grab. That's why, everybody on the 29th, everyone was drinking an incredible amount, right? And that's pretty standard. Like, it's standard for people to leave the baseball field with their teenagers and the parents to go to the bar. So Canton is a big drinking community. And unfortunately, I just don't think that we can rule that out. Yes, Karen has incredible anxiety. And again, I want to be clear. I do not have negative associations with narcissism. Like it doesn't, I actually love working with narcissism as with people that are on that spectrum. It doesn't bother me. I think the world generally has a negative association with it because obviously for obvious reasons, but you'd be shocked how many people show up on that spectrum, more so than you might think. And yeah, you could argue that she's had health issues, that there are reasons for her insecurity. And I'm sure it would be really clear if I knew more about her. I could tell you pretty easily why this developed the way it did. But it's not a criticism of her. It's just a defense, just a way that she sort of developed, right? And again, I don't want to bore you guys with this endless list, but I'll put it up. Maybe I'll put it somewhere. Like, I don't know where you can put documents, but I'll find a way to get it to you all in a link. Yeah, I know where I could do it, so that you can see if you really want to know why I am making that determination. There's a lot of evidence that supports it. Yeah. So, but Jen is so many things. 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 I wouldn't even know where to begin with what Jen is. Jen is just a monster, is how I would. Jen is a monster. So I'm gonna switch gears here because I see that my sister is here. So we're gonna add her. Let me see if I can figure that out. Hold on one second. Here we go, Sissy.
Differently. Hey.
Oh, there she is.
Hello.
The glasses. They're beautiful.
Oh, thanks, sis.
What's going on? How are you?
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Living the dream.
Living the dream.
Living the trial.
Living the trial.
Like,
that's exactly right. Living the trial.
I'm like, man, I just can't even. It's like I can't keep. Television is amazing. As much as like I want it to end so badly, I just want someone to put a stop to this nonsense. And for her and for this poor woman, what they're putting her through, it's just absurd. And everybody, all of us, it's terrible. I wish it would end, but it is. It's pretty good television.
Yeah, no, it is. It's must see for sure, right? Yeah,
I mean, this case has so much to it. It's crazy. I wonder. It's very hard to. I can't imagine just coming upon this right now.
Oh my God, right? Yeah. And I see there are a lot of people. I don't know if anybody in the chat is new to this. I love when newer folks are chiming in because it gives you it just gives you a different perspective. Like it's impossible, for me or for you to see this clearly anymore. I mean, to see it objectively is not clearly, maybe not so much, but to see it objectively. So
yeah, totally. So it's funny you say that because my boss just recently, because of me, I when the day the trial started was a Tuesday, and I had to work, so I wore I wore the cup earrings that I have, the Karen cup earrings, but they just said FKR, and from afar she thought it said FUK.
Yeah.
And so it started the conversation, and I told her what it was, and and so over the weekend or over the week that I hadn't seen her, she decided to look it up.
Oh, interesting.
And started going down the rabbit hole, and it was I was like very excited, but there's so information, and the one thing, the very first question she asked was, like, who is Jen McCabe and why does everybody hate her? She said, who is Jen McCabe? And I said, the worst human on the planet, I said definitely in Massachusetts.
Yeah,
Like the worst, like just an awful person. I don't know. But her question was really like, how is she related to the case? As far as like, you know,
Yeah.
and it's just so, I'm like, I don't know where to begin. So I sent her some stuff. I was like, definitely like frame 2. I'm like, you know, no one knows more about this case than Turtle Boy. So if you're gonna be a newcomer, I suggest like you go down that road because he really is someone, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
He knows so much. You know what's funny I noticed about all the people, like she gets very close to these people that, you know, so it makes me think like she is probably very likable if you get to know her. She's probably Karen Reed, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So in my presentation, you'll see that that's very common. Like because people like this isn't it's sort of when there's an effort, like there's a lot of conscious awareness of how I come across, right?
Yeah.
In other words, like I think Karen is very aware of other people, how they perceive her, how they think about her, whether they like her. You know, she even thought for a second, I forget, what was the name of the guy? He already testified. The friend that was with John, that drove John to the bar on the 29th to see if McCarthy is.
Yeah, I
Maybe
forget.
somebody in the chat can maybe
yeah,
help
I
us
forget.
remember.
But I know who you're talking
his
about.
Friend,
he didn't go to the waterfall. He just
he didn't go to the waterfall.
Right.
And
the person he was with before, because they met up at CF McCarthy.
Yes, and his daughter and John's niece were going to be going to a new school together, so they were celebrating, I think, part that. But Karen was actually saying that in the text messages, the newer ones that we had not seen in the first trial that were dumped by Hank, she was actually saying to John that she felt he didn't like her anymore, that he had given her weird vibes, like I don't like you vibes.
Really?
Yeah, and of course that's nothing could probably be further from the truth, because if he on the stand now is saying that he liked her in the face of everybody, he probably does like her, right?
Yeah, totally.
Because that's not necessarily the more popular opinion in that little group or whatever. So, but I mean, she's just in every way, she's very aware of other people and what they think of her.
Definitely.
And again, that's when people, I hate the word narcissism. I don't even want to use it because I know people get
they take it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
But it's really about trying to get your needs met by, orchestrating your interactions with other people to have favorable outcomes.
Yeah.
So of course people are going to like her.
It makes me so angry.
She doesn't like them.
Well, yeah, of course, but that's different. I feel like she seems like she seems like the only reasonable person involved. I swear to God. I'm just like, this is crazy. And I'll never forget like the first time I saw the footage of her like second arrest, the full footage, when she's like, in slippers and she's like, I'm not even wearing underwear. And Proctor, like, he's like, oh, all she cares about is the way that she looks on television. I'm like, absolutely. I would be so concerned about that too. Like, because you're already like, now you're putting someone on blast for I mean, think about it. She didn't do this. So in her mind, she's not worried about murder. She's not worried about any of that.
Right.
She's really just thinking like an everyday sort of like what her normal, her presentation of herself. And you're sitting here already trying to make me look some sort of way. Like, can you at least be like a decent human being and let me like fix myself up? There was nothing wrong with Jen McCabe needing 10 minutes to get ready for her little interview with their first interview, right? With the feds.
Yeah.
What is the difference? What is the difference? Like, and that wasn't even like going to be blasted for everyone to see, now this has become a different thing. And every time I see that, it makes me so mad. And I hate how they're playing these stupid clips in between. I think it's so like, it's just, I think it just makes, I'm like, what is the point here? Like, what are you trying to get across? Like, I can't wait until they like put on their show and hopefully put some context to this, because
totally. Yeah. I wonder, like, I I'm curious. I know I saw knack for that. I have to figure out how to get these on the screen. But there's been a couple of people, I'm just watching this chat too, that are newer. And again, curious. It was Camerano, by the way. Curious
Oh
as
yes, I
to,
should have known that.
right? Like what is their take? And because I do think that Hank is putting on a better trial this time around. It's a little
Of
tighter, it's a little
course.
cleaner, right?
It's not a joke. Come on.
Yeah.
Riley was like, oh my God, I feel sorry for him. Hank, I can hate no problem. Like I can just like I just don't know.
Yeah.
It's like it's just something it's like it's so like shouldn't the point be to like the truth? Like, oh, you know what I mean? Like we want the truth. We don't want to prove that she did it or these people didn't or whatever. It's like it should be like, what is the truth? And even the judge, I didn't like the way she said it, but when like the little speech that she gave when she decided she was going to let the ARCA people testify.
Oh, of course. Yeah. I have
It was
that.
kind of like jabby toward the defense, but at the same time, she was like, like kind of being like, I have to be fair. It would be unfair. I mean, this is her defense and you're trying to take away like the basis of her defense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just felt like and then Alan Jackson, he's like telling the guy anything you want. Brennan was threatening him and with, some, I don't even remember what it was. And he was like, do it, like whatever. If you want to, he's like, never going to try to stop someone from finding the truth.
Right. No, well, that's the thing, right?
It's like, that's what I can't deal with that. And then the whole argument with did she say she hit him? And whether she did. Okay. So let's just say let's say flat out, they had it on audio, clear as day on that freaking body cam or the front dash video we have to watch with them all in the snow and the windshield wipers.
Of course.
Let's say you hear it loud and clear. Like that does not mean, first of all, she didn't say I hit him. She said, did I hit him? Because you know what I mean? We all know that.
Whatever.
Either way.
I hit him or could I hit him? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't mean that she did.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. It doesn't mean that is not like any human, like any rational person that hears that. That's not the same as I hit him with my car intentionally. I remember the moment. This is what happened. It was totally
of course
like,
not.
It's so absurd.
But that's the point, though, Jackie. Like they're trying. This is what I was saying earlier. They're trying so hard to make her guilty.
I know.
All these.
That's what I can't stand.
They're
not trying to seek the truth. They're trying to make her guilty. And that's why it's not a big conspiracy where everyone knows everything. Isn't that? It's just, if you knew even the slightest bit about this right now, like, and you lived in that town or you were part of this family, like, saying a word, like, that's scary. I mean, I don't know, but it would be scary. And I would keep my mouth shut until this settled down for sure too. Like, it's just little things like that, like whatever Nagel may know, you know what I mean? Like all that, like, I mean, to me, it's just like not one person saw it. They all dome lights on. You don't see John O'Keefe anywhere to be found.
All right. So here's, I was going to wait to bring this up, but I'm going to bring it up now. I think I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, but I wonder if some of you, does anybody know if, you may have already gotten this hunch, but the Wendy Murphy overview theory of the case. Let me see. Do I have it here? I have it here, and I want to bring it up. It is so absurd, but you know what? I actually think that it might be. At the time that right before the trial started, Wendy Murphy is a Boston attorney who's a little off her rocker. I think she's lost it a little. I think she used to be a legitimate person, and now I don't know what's going on, but a little conspiracy-ish, I think. However, she posted this theory of the case just before we started, just before opening statements, I think, days before. And it seems to me like Brennan might actually be making this argument. So, and I got it in my head today because he was talking about how maybe John, with the light open, the overhead light open, maybe he was standing next to the car. Maybe he was outside with the door open, right? Because this is her theory of the case. And she actually had said this is the prosecution's theory. But the absurdity level is so high that I just said, yeah, right, that's ridiculous. Now I'm starting to wonder if maybe that is the theory of the case. Maybe she, maybe she wasn't, maybe she knew something I didn't. Here, I'm going to pull it up and see. Here it is.
Okay.
Okay. And I agree with you, Lisa.
Okay.
I do think, by the way, that these clips do look a little desperate, but I'm not sure if that's a bad thing. I don't know if that's bad. Like, is it, you almost, I don't know. It's very hard to know or to sort of guess what this jury is thinking. Okay. So let's see here. Oh, no. Hold on one second. It is the theory. It is the theory. Okay. So here it is. Step by step, this is what really happened when Karen Reed killed John O'Keefe. This is from Wendy Murphy. Karen and John, this is insane. If you haven't heard this is really, it is so insane. I can't believe I'm reading this out loud because it's really that insane. Karen and John each left the bar with a cocktail. They got into Karen's car and drove to 34 Fairview, but Karen didn't want to go to the party. They had a fight about it. John didn't want to ask his buddies to drive him home. When they pulled up to 34 Fairview, which was on the right passenger side, John got out and with his cocktail in his hand, he kept the door open and continued pressing her to come in. This is when a witness drove by and saw the interior light was on and only one person was in the car. So to your point, that's the moment where Nagel drives by and just sees her with 10 and 2 at the steering wheel. John was standing outside at that moment, they're saying John was standing outside the passenger door, cajoling Karen to come into the house. This is the only normal part of this entire statement, by the way. Okay, this is normal. When Karen again refuses to go in, John grabs her cocktail from the center console with his left hand to pressure her even more because he knew she was a drunk and would want her cocktail. He was double fisted. He now had a glass in each hand. No, this really says this. Karen persisted in her refusal and began slowly driving away to taunt him to get back in the car. So she drives him all the way to 34 Fairview and then says, "We're leaving." Like, as the back of her car passed where John was standing, he realized she was serious about leaving. So he kicked her taillight on the far right side where the plastic was, and then threw her glass from his left hand at the back of her car, causing the small dent above the left side of the taillight. Now, I've said this in my video, but I don't know if you saw it. You have to keep in mind where this red taillight is. The taillight, if you're not as familiar with the taillight, the Be in Trouble 31 video channel has really been dedicated to the taillight, and it's super helpful. It gives you a real sense of this taillight situation. So the taillight is really almost like, I guess, up to a 6'2" man. That taillight would probably be like rib height, which means that John would have had to do like a karate kick, like a side kick, to kick the taillight. It would not have been like when I think about kicking the taillight, right? I think what she means is like, you just took your foot and like kick forward, right? But actually this taillight on this Lexus, it's an SUV and it's up higher. So he would have karate chopped the taillight. That's what she's saying happened. True story. That's what broke the taillight. Okay. Or what cracked the taillight, I should say. It took Karen a moment, 60 feet of driving. Oh, here we go with the 60 feet. This is so, by the way, it's not possible to reach 24 miles per hour in 60 feet of driving.
Have you ever tried to do it?
It's not possible, but no, Turtle Boy did.
After I watched that, I just like tried it for 1 second in my car and I was like, this is a joke. There's
no way. It's insane. No. It's not possible. But this is Trooper Paul's theory. So of course it's not possible.
No, we love him.
This is his theory. This is Trooper Paul's brainchild. 60 feet of driving to realize what John had done. She became enraged that he not only took her drink, but also hit her car. So she floored it backwards, according to Wendy Murphy, this was an accident, intending to punish him, but not kill him. She wasn't trying to kill him. John was bent over trying to get his shoe that fell off when he kicked her taillight. That's how his shoe came off. His back was to the house. He saw Karen Reed speeding towards him and put out his right hand to block her. He put out the back of his hand because he was still holding his drink. He was clutching onto his drink while the back of a car going 24 miles per hour is about to crash into him. And that is why the back of his hand was all bruised. So thank you, Wendy, for clarifying that
That
for
is
us.
so absurd.
Oh yeah, no, it gets even more absurd. I can't see it.
Then how was his arm ripped up by an animal? Where's
Right.
that
Great
explanation
question.
ever?
It's not
Where
here.
is that explanation ever?
Well, according to Trooper Paul, that happened spontaneously when John hit the taillight, which is actually just like, again, this is where physics steps into the picture, which is just functionally not possible, right? Because if you were to break it at the same time, it wouldn't have scratched you, right? If we're to believe
Right.
that he broke,
Of course not.
right, with his impact, right? Of course, okay.
No.
So,
And how did he get a big giant
gash in the back of
dumbbell-sized
his
gash
head?
in the back of his
We're
head?
going to talk about that in a
That
second.
obviously was like what killed him.
Yes.
Like whether he,
this out.
if he, once he got that hit in the head, even if he went immediately to the hospital after that, I think he would have never been the same.
Good question.
And they knew it.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah. So, okay. So let's just finish this. The already cracked taillight from John kicking it scraped John's arm. Here it is, through his sweatshirt on Karen's car, as Karen's car swiped him and spun him to the ground.
Wait. Well, no one sees it. Although Jen McCabe was looking
Jen
out
McCabe
the
was
window
staring
the whole
out the
time.
window. Jen McCabe was
People
staring
were
out the
coming
window.
outside, going back in the house.
Yep.
There were cars coming.
No, she was staring at
with
the
people
window
in it
at that very minute,
sitting there waiting right behind her for
right.
5 minutes. They said,
12:31.
up to 5 minutes.
Yep.
They said, I know at one of these testimonies was about 5 minutes. They sat there. So-and-so's going in and out. Calls to come get picked up. But no one ever talks about why she never went home with them. That to me is weird. She didn't say, come over and hang out. She said, can you pick me up? So they went to go swoop her up. So that's weird to me.
Okay.
Like suddenly you're not leaving. Why? That doesn't make any sense to me.
Totally. Yep. Yes. Okay. So here we go. Wait, we're almost done. So he spins around and he slammed his head on the ground, which is the whole hard ground thing. And I don't know why Ryan Nagel would be an expert on how hard the ground is, but that was an interesting little effort by Hank to get that in.
I know.
I mean, you have got to be kidding. That's cute, Wesley. I agree with you, but I would say that, but there's way too many people on the spectrum that I have just tremendous respect for, and Trooper Paul would not belong. It was not one of them.
No.
Okay, so this is why there are two crime scenes. One where the taillight pieces were first broken because John kicked it, and the other where more pieces broke off when she hit him. There's two crime scenes. There you go. Wow. Okay. This is also why there were two different types of glass at the scene, because Karen had hers and John has his. Oh my God, we figured it out. It's amazing. And Karen Reed made a public statement declaring that she pulled a piece of glass from John's face when she found him because she was worried the prosecutor found her DNA. Right. Okay. So, I mean, Wendy's saying this is a story about an alcoholic who is entitled, self-centered, wealthy, white. Let me read it again. The story is about this is what it says. An alcoholic, entitled, self-centered, wealthy white woman who was raised to believe that she is better than everybody else. There's Wendy Murphy's version of the truth. And I actually think, as I'm listening to Hank slowly tell the story, I actually think he's
going to with it.
I think he is. I really believe it. Yes. Colleen, did we get Higgins' text from that night? Or not, because he left it on. So we did get Higgins' text because Higgins actually, before he took his phone and wiped it, he actually both wiped it and got rid of the SIM card. So he did both. He he had his friend help him, or his friend, from the FBI show him, I guess, how to do it. But before, he had that friend pull the text chain with Karen off of his phone and give it to the district attorney's office. So that's how we got Higgins' text. They came from him directly, because he probably knew Karen was going to have,
the other
same
half.
texts.
Right.
So he had to come forward. And yeah, because Higgins is smart enough to stay as far away from these people as he can, would be my answer to that question.
Yeah, I think they may have had, I could see the two of them butting heads.
Oh, yeah. Jen?
In the moment, like
Sure.
what decisions to be made. I think there might have been some, maybe, or, do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
you're in this chaotic moment, because I do not think that I think they maybe wanted to fight. They were drunk. And, another thing that, like, they all knew that, like, it was going to be a snow. It was like, how
Yes.
people that live in New England, at least, when you can plan for a snow day, and yeah, most people will use that as an opportunity to do whatever they want when they know, especially on a weekend. So any sporting events, all that, anything
Yeah,
that
it
would
was all
normally go on was
canceled.
all
Yeah.
canceled.
Yeah.
And so they all were like, we're just going to get shit-faced and hang out and get snowed in and whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
because they don't have any responsibilities the next day. And so I think that probably plays a big part as to
know.
why all of them were like, I think it should be equal. I think if you're going to sit there and say she's an alcoholic, well, then you can make a pretty damn good case for every single one of these people.
Oh, 100%. No, no, no.
And I think as far
Absolutely.
as alcohol goes, they're all sort of admitting we were all drinking a decent amount. I mean, a lot, like no one is denying that. I don't know. But also a lot of this took place like hours later. You know what I mean? Like,
yes. Yes,
and like,
yes.
I don't know if you're more drunk than just like, I mean, I can only imagine what Karen was feeling like in those moments. I think it is just really unfair that, like, she was just being probably genuine. She'd never in a million years thought these people would have ever just all turned on her like this.
Mm-hmm.
She called. Yeah, everyone's like, oh, well, why? People can't. I hear a lot of people getting tripped up. Well, Karen called Jen for help. How could it be?
Absolutely.
It's like, that doesn't mean anything. Of course, it doesn't change any view as to what may have happened. It makes sense. It was, she also called Carrie Roberts, who had nothing to do with that night before.
Right.
No, I don't know 100%. How that, but then why wouldn't you? I would call, and obviously Jen was the person she felt the most comfortable contacting in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just feel like it's really, it's shitty that I wish that she just called Carrie even, and they, I don't know, things would have been
made a
different,
difference, because at the end of the day, they would have ended up at John's. They would have ended up at 34 Fairview. And Jen would have inserted herself in it one way or the other.
And they played that clip. Brennan plays the clip where she's like, when she says she was looking for him. It's like, of course she was looking for him. Of course. And she thought he was dead somewhere. So it would make sense that it would be somewhere between the last places they were, the last people they were with.
Of course.
It's like.
You mean that she saw him, you're talking about?
Yeah, and everyone
was able to spot him.
Spot him immediately.
Yeah.
She was looking for him.
Well, not only that, but I was saying, if you're in a fight, and if you're in fight or flight, your senses change. They literally change.
Yeah.
The blood, literally, the way that your circulation in your body is completely changes, so that you are able to detect threats with a lot more accuracy. That's the whole point. So she would have probably been able to see more clearly, because she was in such a heightened state of panic.
Absolutely.
That's the truth. 100%. I just wanted to comment about this. Somebody was talking about MS. My sister and I actually, our grandmother had MS our whole life. So we actually have a lot of experience personally with MS too. And of course, a tremendous amount of empathy for for folks who deal with it, very, very. Luckily, we have obviously much better treatment than our grandmother had, but yes, well, I see people talking about it a lot in the chat, and I think because Jen brought it up, I don't think she brought that in last time, if I remember correctly.
She didn't.
Right? Yeah, she didn't. So interesting how
I don't think she did. Not that I remember. Joe, I went back and watched. She was terrible last time. She was horrid.
She was terrible. She was terrible this time, but in a different way, I think.
Yeah, but at least it didn't feel so. I mean, she was just oh god, awful.
Yes, I mean, I just want to respond to this. Higgins was definitely involved. I mean, there's no
question.
I absolutely 100%. I think one of the things that actually is the most telling about Higgins was that when he was very into Karen. I mean, this probably wouldn't have happened if he didn't have feelings for her.
He was also the only person involved that's not in family. They're not family.
That's right.
He's not family.
He never writes back. Like on the morning that this happened, Karen writes to Brian Higgins a text that says John is dead.
Yep.
And he doesn't write back.
No, that's the last thing she says to him.
And that is very strange because if you look at the 90 texts between them, he was into her.
Yeah, it's very strange.
That morning.
For him, if he think about it, if he was completely unrelated to that death and she had sent that text, there's absolutely 100% of the time he responds immediately and uses that he liked her. So there you go.
He liked her.
He's out of the way. He's dead.
Yeah.
So he would be a support that, I think, I think he would be there for her, of course.
Did they?
Regardless.
And did say the same thing. Jen did say, okay, yes, yeah. Jen did. Here we go.
Remember that.
Jen did say the same thing. Okay, so
that was how they connected. That's
why they connected. Yeah.
Because that is rare.
That's right. I can't wait. Somebody else did this too. I cannot wait for Higgins' testimony. It is going to be incredible, right?
I can't either.
Because they have, I think, this new footage of him. Now, I'm not sure if that's coming in, but I think it is, where he's actually at the police station. So that should be really, really interesting.
I'm hoping that Higgins is the one that blows the case open someday.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, talk about vindication.
It would be. And
if they gave him immunity.
Yeah. That maybe they should
have to give him immunity. Right.
Maybe they should. What if he were to say, to walk in, whatever, even just to Hank, on a side, call him up and be like, I got something I got to talk to you about or whatever. And he were to say that, I mean, what do you say? Okay, what she didn't do it. This is what really happened. I mean, what would they do?
Who knows? I mean, who knows? I have no idea.
You know what I mean?
Thing is, though,
what would happen right now? Today, during this trial, they have put all their cards, the people, I feel like the people that support them have a lot more to lose if they are incorrect than the people that support Karen Reed as well. I think.
Well, the district attorneys. So I think at each point in this case, going back to 2023, before I was ever involved, we were suspicious. There was suspicious,
of course.
sort of, right? We think Proctor's a bad guy and he seems crooked and he planted a taillight, right? But then when you get the text, you realize, it's worse than I thought it was.
Of course he did that. Then then you see the video that's flipped. Then that's not made a bigger deal.
Stop with the mirror. I don't want to talk about the mirror.
That should have been a throwing out any other girl, any other case, any other judge.
Any other judge.
That right there.
Right then and there.
Mistrial, boom, done, over. If this is a wrap.
Yes, he did. That's right. He did bring his lawyer. That's right. Yes.
Oh, that's right.
Yep.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that.
Right. He was sitting right next to him. Yeah. No, for sure. And the mirrored video should have been the end. It really, really should have.
And there is some guy over there sitting. Just what is he doing? I mean, this is why this case is why we're even here talking about this.
Absolutely.
And so many. Why we have a crew.
That's true.
Of people that are just even if it's maybe not all supporters on the same side, I do believe that there's a crew of people that want the truth and Of course, you're going to believe what you believe, but like, there's something like, I say this all the time. Unless you have ever lived in that area, Boston or the greater Boston area, because you just hop on 95 and you're there in 10 minutes. It's Boston.
You're talking about
John
Canton.
was a Boston police officer and he lived in Canton. Yeah, I'm just saying
Yeah.
it's,
No,
and
Canton
I
was
lived there
settled
for
by
10 years.
that was settled by South
And
Boston.
yes, and I'm telling you that these people are different. They're different. I'm just saying. And it is a little strange, even growing up 2 hours away on the other side of the state, little state, totally different world. Totally. I mean,
yeah.
And this most definitely would happen. Absolutely. I know it's not some big cover up and everybody knows it's like dominoes falling and obviously the Alberts were a very influential family.
100%.
I mean, you watch this guy on Boston's Finest, comes off like a badass. He doesn't even just watching him on the stand, just sort of blank face. He's very intimidating, and sometimes people are just, and it's like high school in that town because none of them ever left.
Absolutely.
So, like you said, Jen
Absolutely.
McCabe was voted best looking in her high school.
Yeah, yes, that's right.
I mean, what?
McCabe. Yep.
That's,
yep.
Well,
and if anybody, I mean, I have nothing against people staying in the town that they grew up in, but
it's
the thing about it
influence.
is but this is the thing, you never escape it. Like if I go back to my town, I went to high school, middle school in Massachusetts, and I see my friend from the 9th grade, we have not evolved past 9th grade. We are still at 9th grade, right? Because our associations are so strong from when we're young. That's the problem. This town, this is all kind of has a high school vibe to it.
It
and
is
it's so ridiculous to even say that out loud, but everybody, it is. It's like teenagers who are but we're adults now. That's like 7th graders that have now become adults with big jobs and have a lot of power, and it's insane. But to me, we're gonna eventually, this district attorney's office, I think they in the end may prove to be the most corrupt of all.
Yeah,
because what's coming out about the DA's office is so it's incriminating. These meetings that they're having where Tully is at all of these meetings, the way they're trying to silence Turtle Boy, make no mistake about that.
That is so crazy.
They bring a Supreme Court judge out of retirement just to go up against Turtle Boy?
A joke.
Why?
I don't know.
Why would you do that?
I don't know. Because he is trying to get to the truth. I don't know. All the stuff, all the crazy stuff that,
Right.
Oh yeah, definitely. John was definitely knocked out in the basement.
Or in the garage.
Maybe, I don't know though, but I don't know, man. I just feel like I think someone picked up a dumbbell and knocked him over the head with it, maybe in the midst of a fight.
Well, obviously. I mean, I think that's what happened.
In the basement. That's what I think.
I used to think it was definitely the basement, and I think it has to be because of the stairs.
Yeah.
And the reason that the basement was initially in the discussion and not the garage was because of the stairs. However, I could see a world where John goes into the basement, goes into the garage door. Because and the way that Jen responded to Alan Jackson mentioning the door, oh yeah, there is a door, that was a little creepy. That was weird in a way that felt important. And I could see, guess what? If he was in the garage, nobody else ever sees him. The Nagels, the Levinston, these people never know that John is there. They don't know that John was at that house, right? I think Allie McCabe, if you go back, and I actually have it for a different video that I'm using it for, there's that moment on the stand where Allie McCabe starts to break down last year. I don't think she's going to be testifying again this year. But there's that moment where she actually slips and says when John was at the house, and then she realizes that she said it and starts to get shaky and starts crying about the harassment.
Yeah.
To me, I think, Colin Albert, everybody's right. I mean, I think Colin Albert was was the guy that he was the final blow because
I do.
again,
I think so.
has
He's
to be
the only
Thomas.
one dumb enough to do something that would have had that in him. I think
Yes.
I think that they definitely wanted. I think they were probably looked at. Let's get John to the house with some sort of like excitement for the night. Like this is a new. You know what I mean? Like there is a thing with that. You know, it's like high school excitement. Oh, they all go back to the house. Guess we got O'Keefe coming. Oh, you know. Meanwhile, just like the day before, him and Karen are having this flirtatious sort of, you know, which she clearly did just to shove it to John. I don't think she was interested in him at all.
Well, I mean, I think she
out of everyone,
absolutely
maybe
was
she thought he was
interested in
cute.
him.
Yeah. He was like the one, but I don't think that she was like, look, I feel like it was just, feel like she
It
had to
was
have
payback.
someone. For that stupid girl that we don't have to see her face again, do we?
It was payback, but it was also, these are just more evidence of kind of some of her personality stuff because she felt unloved by John and was she has a lot of anxiety and was very uncertain about whether or not he was going to give her the attention that she wanted.
Yeah.
Because in Karen's head, she had made up a story that John was choosing the kids over her, that she was not a part of. That was part. Remember the last discussion they have just before the night at CF McCarthy starts. This is really like 6 p.m. They show up at 9.
Yeah.
And that 6 o'clock.
She hadn't even decided yet if she was going back at that point. I mean, they were
kind of right.
She was. It seemed like she
was,
but yeah.
She was trying to tell him she wasn't, but I don't think there was ever a doubt that she wasn't gonna go.
Yeah, because she could have gotten snowed in out there for the whole week. I don't think she wanted that either, and he wanted her to come back.
No, she had to come back, but my thought. But she also is saying to him, and it's ridiculous, it's absurd, his whole life for these children, and Karen is saying, I don't think the four of us should be together in the same house anymore. I think that's what she was saying. The four of us need some distance. I don't think I want to hang out with just you. I don't want the four of us to be a thing. Because you, John, seem like you can't handle all four of us together. But the reality is there was no world where John was going to do that.
Right.
And so her even saying it out loud, it gives you an indicator of like where she's headed in her mind about what's happening. Right.
Right.
Like, so I think she wasn't sure if he was pulling away. She obviously thought that he might have a wandering eye, although in the Brian Higgins text, she tells us that she doesn't believe he's cheating.
Right.
Right. Again. So, and that's in the exchange with Higgins. I mean, if it was up to her, she would have slept with him.
Yeah.
I don't know if we know that or not, if everybody knows that or not, but she tries to jump on Higgins multiple times and he's the one that says no.
Yeah, because that's what I mean. It just seems strange. It seems like almost it's just something that she wanted to have in her back pocket. I would do something like that. I wouldn't necessarily act on it. But if I knew that there were people that I could talk to, which is usually the case, there's not that difficult, especially with, social, Tinder and all that. It's very easy to communicate with someone on that level. And if I were going to find something like that on my boyfriend's phone, just like some sort of, or whatever, he's overly flirtatious and get that bad idea. Yeah. I totally would be like, maybe I'll just say, hey, that last person that I was thinking, maybe I wished I could have talked to or thought I saw some hot guy. I'm just going to see what happens. Throw it out there.
Yeah. She was flirting with him at the bar at the Hillside. That was like the place that they had been hanging out all the time, like the Hillside. And she didn't always go out with John. Like she says it, like I've read there's these discussions.
I think she knew those people were fucking weird, shady, man. That there was
she did.
I don't know. That something like this could happen. That it's just a powerful group of people.
I don't think she knew that. I mean, she really was shocked when what's his name, Scanlon.
Yeah.
She did not. She thought she was going to be like in trouble for DUI. I mean,
Yeah.
she found Yannetti because she Googled DUI lawyers. I mean, that's
Yeah.
like, so as anxious as she was after this happens, that gives you some indication of where she was at. She wasn't looking for a murder, defense attorney that
Right.
could rep her in a murder investigation.
I mean, the
She was
fact
looking
that they're
for drunk
still
driving.
trying to get her for second-degree murder is a joke. There is,
Yeah.
that is what makes me think that they're trying to put it on her. At the very least, it was an accident. If she
Yes.
did hit him,
Right, that's right. Exactly.
it would be an
She
accident.
didn't, but yes. Yes, so
She didn't, but
Chloe-
if she did, because I say the same thing. People always say, "Oh, but then," I'm like, right,
No,
but she didn't.
She
She
didn't.
didn't hit him,
She didn't. But
and
if she
I
did, it was
just
an
cannot
accident.
wait for Arca.
Me neither.
I cannot wait.
But my problem, and this is where I started, and I'll come back to that. But just to answer these questions, Chloe is alive and well. She was rehomed. We think she's
in
at a
Vermont,
house in
right?
Vermont. I think we're not 100% on that. Or Pennsylvania. I can't. There's been rumors of both. And yes, Brennan did imply that. The problem is in the last trial, Lally actually tried to stop the defense and tried to impeach one of the defense witnesses, experts.
Oh, it was
a dog bite expert. What's her name?
I don't remember.
Because she had written a paper about this very thing, like using dog bite teeth to match to a dog. I guess it's not scientific. Apparently, dogs' teeth move even more than humans' teeth do. So there's a lot of question about whether you can identify a dog from their bite.
From their teeth, yeah.
So, in other words, Dr. Russell, thank you, Angie. Yes, that's right, Dr. Russell. She was lovely. I love Dr. Russell, actually, but she just seems like someone you would want to hang out with. She's lovely. But yes, so yeah, I think they're going to try. It sounds like Brennan's going to try. But again, the problem is that Lally made a whole big stink about the defense not being able to do that. So I'm sure they're going to be able to impeach with that, assuming that the judge allows it, right? Yeah, so I don't know. You did say something else, though. What was the other thing that you had just mentioned that I wanted to touch on? It wasn't Chloe. It was something right before we were talking about Chloe. What was the last thing that you said? I don't remember.
What was I saying?
Yeah.
A lot.
I know. Oh, no, Arca. So one of the things that I'm concerned about, though, like, and everybody here, we've been talking about it, since 10:30. The problem is that people who just don't want to, it's like, no matter what Arca says, and hopefully the jurors are not like this. The jurors, by the way, are very young. I don't know if you heard me say that, Jack, but we found out today that the jurors are generally a younger group.
That's
hard to imagine.
promising.
It's promising. Hard to imagine that they're not social media at all on social media. Hard to imagine they don't know anything about this case.
No, they do. Most of them. I mean, I think that it's not most of the jurors had
heard of it.
Yes, they knew. They had heard the basis of the case. I don't know that there was. I don't know that they found many people that didn't know anything. I mean, most of them. But we're saying I can able to be impartial, open my mind, and listen to the evidence. I mean, I mean, I could have done the same thing too. Trial one. I mean, at this point, obviously not, but I think that
maybe.
Yeah, I mean, no, but
well, but
definitely not.
They also were saying that they listen when Jackson speaks, that the jurors were hanging on every word and intently taking notes.
They're all well, there's 5 avid note takers on the jury. There's 5 that are avidly taking notes.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. So out here, I watch Canton Confidential and all the news on every single night, everything.
Okay.
All the people, pretty much everyone that you see, I try to hear everyone that's in the courtroom, all the news media.
Okay, so they are seeing what's going on.
They can actually see as far as what people, it seems like they're not getting so far like the clips that they're playing from like the documentaries and stuff aren't really don't seem to be putting in too much of an impact on the jury. It seems more confusing. They said, that it's very jarring. Like all of a sudden, like it comes on and it's like loud and the lights go off and she speaks for a minute and then there's like no context around it. So
yes,
that's good to hear. I mean, because it is a little bit ridiculous. I mean, I certainly would be like, I want to know, like, what is she? You can't just play. It just seems very bizarre, that whole thing. It seems more like an attack on her. Like she said it herself. It's like, I don't know. She's the most. It's just frustrating with that part. But yeah, I try to see because I really want to know, like, what is this jury? Because if you don't know anything, this is confusing the way that they're laying this out too.
Well, that's what I was wondering too. Like, what do people think about the way that Brennan is doing this? I mean, some lawyers are saying that he's front loading that, like, because essentially Brennan's whole theory of the case is the "I hit him" statements. That's the important thing that Hank wants everybody to never forget. And so, because of the fact, I guess there's different strategies, and one strategy for attorneys, and if you have any attorneys, let us know. Is to front load. And that is exactly what I guess he's doing. He wants us to remember the "I hit him" statements.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel like I'm looking forward to the defense being, putting on their show.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I really believe that it's going to be like, I think it's going to be amazing. I just think Alan I think all of them are. There's a dream team. If anything ever happens to me, can we please call these 4 people? Because I only want these 4 people and their team to represent me.
Alessi, I love Alessi.
All of them. They're all great.
Every
single one of them.
They're all great, and of course they're all great. And Jackson is, everyone's favorite.
I can tell you, they smell incredible too. I will say that.
Well, that is good to know.
Yes, they did. Yes,
that's probably part of why the judge hates them.
Yeah, I mean, and
they give
even
up
Karen,
the big shot lawyer thing.
Even Karen. So everyone has. There's a lot of stink about the fact that she goes to the sidebars. It's like.
Yeah, I know.
I hope that inspires every defendant across America to do that.
They should, right? We should all, if we were.
Why not hear it firsthand? Why wouldn't you? Yeah, and I think it bothers me because I hope that wouldn't have an effect on the jury. Like, this is her life. This poor woman. I mean, even it's just.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. I don't know if this has always been a thing, but I feel like I've been recently hearing about like the Lori Vallow case, people repping themselves.
Well, that's different.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
That is different.
It never is a good idea. Ever.
I know, but I've seen it like 3 times, not the Karen Reed trial, but before that, recently I've seen 3 different instances of the defendants repping themselves, and it's fascinating. I mean, it's obviously not a good idea.
It is a dumb move.
Yes, totally dumb.
Dumb move. You could be, even if you're, regardless, you need support, if nothing else.
Yes, totally. Let me.
You
just
need a team.
You need some. Let me read some of these.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm reading this one.
Yes, right, I'm so glad, Ad, that you finally are able to live. Maybe sometime, absolutely, we can collaborate a show together, out this case and about some things, how laws can change. Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much.
Especially in Massachusetts.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Yeah, in Massachusetts, right? I mean, it's just crazy. Like, I think we all think about Massachusetts as like, it's like, the birthplace of this country, freedom, democracy, all this stuff, supposed to be this liberal state. It's like, it's just so corrupt in Boston.
Yes. As somebody who goes from one end to the other, back and forth, I'm telling you. Absolutely. I know, it's not very big. It's not, there's, it is. I have heard I know too much, just way too much that is just not right here. This being representing the big, huge, aspect. This easily could have been me. This easily could have been you.
Absolutely.
And it's very scary. It's very scary.
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah, and I guess, because this case has so much attention, international attention now, thank goodness, for Karen.
I know.
But what happened, I think this case has just been picking up more and more steam. And once Turtle Boy, about 6 months to a year after Turtle Boy started to just out everybody, that it was like this local district attorney's office doubled down on their case because all of a sudden public sentiment started to push against them. And instead of like, oh, these ARCA people are saying that John wasn't in a car accident. Instead, they doubled down and they hire Hank Brennan to try to, no matter what, get
this girl. Yeah.
Get this girl, no matter what. And they are just doubling down. Let me read these quick, and then I want to actually show you guys something here in a minute. Denise Pellin, thank you so much. Congratulations on your first live and 11,000 subscribers. I appreciate it so much. I appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me see. I forgive me, you guys. I'm new to this. I'm getting used to it. I've never seen this form. I didn't even see the starred ones. I appreciate it so much. On top, XX super sticker. Thank you for your support. And thank you so much, VS, for your support. And I can't tell if that's versus or VS. I'm going to go with VS. Thank you so much for your congratulations. Oh, thank you. I really, really appreciate it. 2 cute by half. Thank you so much. It's adorable. I love that 2 cute by half myself. I think it's awesome. Oh, did we lose my sister? She probably had her iPhone or iPad probably just died, but Aunt Lola, 2 cute by half. Thank you so much. I've been checking every day for the live. Here we are. I can't believe I did it. It's amazing. I'm very excited about it. The Zen Masterpiece sent $20. Congrats on your first live. I love hearing your brilliant insight after each day of the trial. Thank you. I appreciate you so much, the Zen Master P. You are amazing. It's so much fun. It's so much fun to talk about this case. Right? I mean, that's why I started doing this, because I just wanted to be able to talk about it. It's like frustrating when you can't, and to share with other people, because, certainly my partner, my boyfriend does not care at all about this case, right? So it's like, well, who do you talk to if people in your day-to-day life are not following it? Although I will say he's come around, of course, because now it's front and center in our lives in such a big way. But yeah, so I just appreciate having you guys here to be able to scream and shout, with about it. It's brutal. I mean, that's the thing, right? It's like punishing. This case is like punishing. So I fully expect my little sister to be back here in a second. But I also want to go back to this. Let's see, not the timeline. What? No, we got to go back. Here we go. So just to briefly, I'm sure everybody here has had some time to review the day's events, but just to quickly, I think it's just even helpful to take a step back, say, all right, what actually did happen today? What was super important? What did come up? We're already through 18 witnesses. It's crazy that we're already this far along, honestly. It goes fast, as difficult as it is. Wait, do we have my sister again? As difficult as it is to bear, it does go fast. Here she is. We have her. All right. I'm adding. Yep. Here we is.
We're back. Woo!
We're back.
Okay. Good. As long as you're good. I mean, I was just worried about you.
No, we're good. We're good. So yeah, I thought might be just quickly here, because I know it's getting late, but I want to just kind of do a little review of the day. So we went through witnesses 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18 today. As I was saying earlier, it's like by the time you got to the end of today with Lieutenant Gallagher, it's like Hannah Knowles was 2 years ago. So much. Like, it's just the little details of following, even though some of these witnesses were not on the stand for long, it's just a lot to be focusing on and reoriented around. So a lot happened today. Anything in particular stand out for you? I kind of went through and just pulled some key important bits of information from each of the witnesses. So the first thing that happened was the mishap with the judge, where Bev doesn't realize the defense is still cross-examining the toxicologist.
Mhm.
So that was weird.
That was weird.
There's just everything with her just ends up being weird. And
I
then
know.
it really does. So they were just poking holes with the testing. And one thing that I just want to go back here, I want to make this point. Karen was drunk. All right. I part of me, I'm torn because part of me wants to just be like, I was drunk. Okay, can we move on? But the other part of me also recognizes that this retrospective testing that they're doing, the retrograde extrapolation test for the alcohol, is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous concept. And it is not supposed to come into a trial like this because it is not exact. The range that she gave, I don't know if you remember the range. At the top of my head, it was like 0.8 to 2.8.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's what it was. It was.
I mean, I think she might have
0.8%.
actually slept a little bit too that
She
night.
did sleep, but it doesn't matter because
No, but I mean, it makes a little bit of a difference, I feel like, as far as like
none
just
of
your
this
brain.
doesn't-
Yeah, I mean,
your
obviously
brain,
none
but
of
that's
it.
not what
You're
they're
right.
they're talking about. Purely they're talking about alcohol content in your blood. That's
It has nothing to do
all
with
they're
it.
talking about. It has nothing to do with anything.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Absolutely nothing. I mean, everyone agrees. Everyone was driving responsibly. They
Well,
made that
she was
point.
drinking.
They were being right. I don't think she was like falling over shit face. I don't think that's.
She wasn't.
I think she was not even the drunkest person by any means. I think she was. If she was a little bit more intoxicated, I feel like that would have maybe given her more of a reason. Yes.
Yeah, it would have been better.
Yes. Exactly.
Absolutely.
I think maybe she wasn't. I don't know. I mean, to say that like her drink would have been able to be a reason why John could control her to like, it's absurd.
Absolutely. No, I mean, the whole thing.
And this is such a far reach. I mean, I do feel like people have to find some other like plausible theory because to me, the only thing, to me, this makes perfect sense that if you know I try to put myself in her shoes going all the way back to New Year's Eve or whatever, the trip.
Yeah.
And then where all the text started with Higgins. I mean, it was a lot. It was over 100. It was like 140 or something.
With
text?
Higgins? No, it was,
Yeah,
I think it was like
wasn't
90
it?
something actually. But
Okay.
yeah, it was a lot.
Still.
It's a lot.
Yeah. It was a lot. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
how
it's a
long
lot.
did we had to listen to him read the whole thing? It took what seemed like forever.
Yeah.
And there must have been, if you just think of all the content, if you really listen to her, I mean, if I've listened to her more than anyone, because the whole reason, first and foremost, that I believe in her so much is because I believe her.
Right.
I think she's consistent, believable. I relate to her.
She's
she says, I do not blink. I don't think twice about it. Please show me. I am reasonable. I could have my mind changed with the right.
Sure.
Absolutely, I could.
Sure. I could too.
But the more digging that I do, and the more I listen to her, everyone else is just shady, except for her. She's erratic. She's very Boston, She reminds me so much of someone I spent a lot of time with,
Mm-hmm.
out there. I lived out there for 10 years and I met people just like them every day. And they're tight. They family, Boston families. I mean, oh my God, the blood, it runs thick.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For sure. But the problem is that there's almost like projection going on. In other words, Hank Brennan is Hank Brennan is talking is telling us what they're doing. It's like he's accusing Karen of what they are doing themselves. And it's really, when I first noticed it, I was like, that's so obvious. It can't be true. But now, because all this is coming out about the way that the fact that Jen McCabe has had like 50 phone conversations with the witness advocate.
Oh, they have like a relationship.
Absolutely. Brian Tully is in all of these meetings.
Can I make one point though that's really been bothering me?
Of course.
I haven't seen, like, I don't look that much as like, I'm really into like the facts and I try to listen to that as much as possible. But I cannot stand that so many people. Well, first of all, that they have never, as far as Jen McCabe is concerned, for instance, the way she talks about Officer Lank. Okay, everyone under the sun calls him Michael Lank, Officer Lank. Every single time she says his name, oh, Mike Lank, Mike Lank, Mike Lank, like they're buddies. Mike Lank,
they're buddies.
Everyone else, that's what I mean. It's like so frustrating. I'm like, why has nobody noticed that she's like, you don't just if you don't know someone, you don't. I don't know. She would call him
She's
officer.
not saying she doesn't know him. She's saying she just.
I know, but it's a little bit uncomfortable she knows him well.
Of course, she knows him well.
So shady, right there. I mean,
Jackie.
I can't stand it.
The federal. Let me just say too. The federal agents showed up at her house, and she called the DA's office. That's number one. That was one of the first calls she makes. Number two, this whole discussion really is moot because at 5:07 in the morning, after Karen calls her, Jen McCabe calls to the house at 34 Fairview and speaks to somebody for 38 seconds. Okay? So nothing else needs to happen because this idea that they were sleeping, that the Albert home was
during all the
they
butt
were all
dials,
fast asleep. Nobody heard anything. It was windy out front. Like that is absurd because Jen spoke to them for 38 seconds that morning.
Right.
At 5 o'clock in the morning. Right at and then lied about it. See, the thing about these guys, if the butt dials, if Brian Albert was just like, yeah, I called him because I had a thought about something we talked about earlier, and Higgins was like, oh yeah, I called him, I was drunk, then none of us would care about the butt dials, right? But the fact that they just constantly lie,
right.
I mean,
unbelievable.
Colin Albert got on the stand
and said he had never been in a fight. He couldn't even lie good. He did it bad.
He's never been in a fight.
He couldn't even lie good.
How is somebody not like arresting him for that? I mean, right?
Dude, this kid needs to be thrown in jail for many things. First and foremost, for killing John O'Keefe.
Hello, Judge Bev is like, won't even let them use him. There's
unbelievable.
There's no evidence he was at the house.
Oh my God, because they all lied.
Let me look at his cell phone records.
Right, which is absurd. It's all absurd.
If you're not, look at Allie McCabe's I don't know if it was Apple Health data, but it was the app that her parents track her on. It was like the GPS.
Life 360.
Life 360. Her Life 360. She's out till 1:30 in the morning, probably with her cousin who she just picked up after he kills John.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's what happened. I think Higgins started this because he was either going to tell John about Karen or he was going to fight with him because he was a drunk idiot. But that very quickly was circumvented by Colin Albert, who I think, like you said the other night, picked something up, whether it was in the basement or the garage, picked something up and whacked him in the head with it. How about one of the only things that mattered today that I thought was one of the biggest, most important things that came out today was that Sarah Levinson, said that she had never seen the dog, that she'd been to the Albert home 20, 25. She's probably been there more than that. If she said 20, it means she's probably been there 40. She's never met Chloe. Never met Chloe. That means that they don't leave Chloe around the house.
Humans. Right. Chloe was probably in the basement.
Right. Correct. Yeah. Which is why I've thought all along that that's where Higgins took John, innocently.
Right. So I'm starting to think, now I'm thinking about it, maybe the moment so I really believe that it was Colin Albert that
had to be
threw the final blow. I think, I don't know how, the only way, I don't know, but that's what I think. And I think maybe immediately Higgins knew that it was going to look bad on him. Everyone was going to think it was him.
No, he was involved. Higgins was.
Of course, he was involved. I mean, we know
he had to have been involved.
I think maybe it was more reluctant than I had originally thought. I think maybe he's more reluctantly involved. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't. You know what? I don't know. But I
had Higgins wanted to speak to John. I mean, this isn't even,
Yeah.
there's no doubt in my mind that Higgins
Yes.
was involved because he kept saying, "Are you coming?" They weren't friends. John
No.
and they were not friends.
No.
And he's trying to sleep. His girlfriend is
Just-
trying
right.
to sleep with him, and he was
Right.
wasted. And
Yeah.
I don't know
I
what they
think
were
the
doing.
fact that they were so drunk is more important than whether she.
Absolutely.
I think it's just
100%.
the fact that
100%.
all this goes down, he gets so injured like this from a car. All these people are somewhat around in some capacity at the very beginning of the storm, and nobody hears a sound, nobody sees a thing. Dog's not barking, nothing, nobody. It's just I
Talking
see
about coming out of the house. You're talking
yes,
about? Oh,
yes,
no,
during all
is
this
absurd.
while she's slowly moving. I mean, it's just
The whole thing is absurd. But also, so I just wanted to looking. There was a couple of things today that seemed important to mention. And this guy, I actually missed Gallagher last year. I never saw him testify the first time.
the leaf blower guy.
The leaf blower, what a piece of garbage this guy was.
Yeah.
Wow. The leaf blower. How about the fact that the only video that anybody takes the entire case, the only video is him
that
wanting to make sure that his ass was covered.
Yep.
Because he didn't want to get in trouble. He
'Cause
wanted
he
everybody to
knew.
see that
Right.
he used the leaf blower
Right.
effectively.
Right.
Because he didn't want to get in trouble for it.
Yeah. Well, what would make what for what?
Just insane. It's insane. I mean, it's insane. Okay, here's the one thing I want to play. I want you to see the one very specific difference in Gallagher's testimony, and this is important. So, do you remember what he was saying about the first take on John's injuries this time were that he had a medical event? That was what Gallagher was saying, that John had a medical event. Okay. That's what they believe was going on. And that's why they didn't try to get evidence and they didn't think to go in the house.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. They didn't. They weren't thinking homicide.
They weren't
Isn't that what
thinking
he said? Something like that.
Of course not. No. Yeah. There was no
Right.
crime.
There was
Wasn't
no
even
crime. There was
homicide.
no crime.
crime.
That's what he said. There
It
was
a
no
medical
crime.
event. So now I want to show you what he said the first time, because it turns out that he said something very different before. What a surprise. I bet you're shocked. Okay, here we go. I'm going to pull this up. I think it's, nope, that's today. I think it's this one. Here we go. It should be right ready. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see it?
Yeah.
All right. Make sure this is the right one. Yeah, here it is. This is him. I'm going to try to.
Oh no, I don't see it. I still see the list. You're trying to show me a video? Trying to show a video?
Yeah. You don't see it?
No, I don't.
Hold on. Oh, that's why I got to remove it. That's why. Sorry. Like I said, it's clunky. I'm still working on it. Here we go. Now you see it. All right. So it's really quick. 2 seconds. You got to hear what this guy, what the story was the last time he testified. Hold on.
Where a party was found unconscious, possibly not breathing in the snow. He stated his name was John O'Keefe. He was a Boston police officer who resided on Meadows Ave. He further told me that he had gotten a call earlier about John O'Keefe not returning home that night. His friends had called the hospitals, then they called the police, then they went out and looked for him, and they found him unconscious and not breathing in the snow.
And based on that information, what, if anything, did you?
I told him I would respond.
Where were you initially responding to?
I was initially responding to Meadows Ave. I misinterpreted when he said he was a Boston police officer on Meadows Ave. I thought they discovered him on Meadows Ave.
And subsequently, did you learn a different location and respond to that location?
I did.
So he actually went to One Meadows first.
Determine was where you were.
And that did he say that today? He didn't say that
to
today, did he?
Find out the exact address.
Yeah.
I was
he did say, I don't know if he said that he went there, but he said that he did
He
think
went
that's
to the
where he
wrong
was
place
supposed
or
to go.
something. Yeah, something like
He
that. Okay.
mentioned that he thought the incident happened there, but I don't know if he actually said that he went there. And this time he's telling us he actually went to the wrong house. And then he called dispatch and they told him where to go.
I was told it was 32 Fairview Road.
Right.
And again, it was 32 Fairview.
Fairview, right.
Of course, it wasn't 34.
Oh, God, Lally, dude.
That's
don't
correct.
miss
It was
ya.
Officer Dever who answered the phone.
I don't know if I missed
Officer Kelly Dever, is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, did you go straight from home to the scene, or did you go?
Don't worry, he's still there.
I know.
I stopped at Canton Police Department prior to that.
All right, it's coming
What
up.
was the purpose of stopping at Canton Police Department prior to going to Fairview?
I was picking up some winter gear, and I advised
the winter
Sergeant
gear.
Good via the radio that all midnight personnel was to be held till further notice.
And you say winter gear, as far as you're responding to a
he's
scene,
so
what, if any,
boring.
other sort of equipment did you procure when you went to Canton Police?
It was clothing. I needed a winter jacket, hat, things of that nature. I was responding in my personal vehicle.
Couldn't got evidence back.
And if you know, about what time was it that you arrived on Fairview Road that morning?
I arrived shortly after 7 a.m.
And when you arrived, what, if anything, was it that you observed upon your arrival?
There were some vehicles pulling away, but parked by this where the scene was were 3 Canton police vehicles and 1 black Toyota pickup truck that is assigned to our detectives.
And who, if anyone else from your department was there at that?
Who, if anyone?
When I arrived, the 3 marked units were occupied by Officer Mullaney, Officer Saraf, Sergeant Good, and the Toyota pickup was driven there by Detective Sergeant Lank.
And as far as by the time you arrived, Mr. O'Keefe is no longer on scene, is that correct?
That is correct.
And what, if any, vehicles or apparatus or any personnel from the fire department were on scene by the time that you arrived?
None.
Now, when you first arrived, who, if anyone, did you first sort of speak with on scene?
I first encountered Sergeant Good.
And you had a conversation with him, is that
Here
correct?
it is.
That is correct.
And who, if anyone else, did you talk to?
Detective Sergeant Lank joined us as well.
And following these initial conversations with Sergeant Good and Detective Sergeant Lang, what did you do with that?
Once they updated me on the case, we decided that we had to process where Mr. O'Keefe was found. It was snowing heavily. Sometimes the wind was blowing north, sometimes it was south. It was changing directions. And we discussed how to process where Mr. O'Keefe was found, because at the time we had no idea how he came to be where he was.
And with respect to that, first, as far as where Mr. O'Keefe was, who, if anyone, directed you to where Mr. O'Keefe had been prior to your arrival?
When I arrived and I spoke with Sergeant Good and Detective Sergeant Lang, they updated me on the case. They had told me that Mr. O'Keefe was transported to the hospital, that they were doing CPR on him at that time. They told me that he was bleeding from the mouth and nose, and that he may have had swelling above one of his eyes. They told me that they transported his girlfriend as well, and they told me the circumstances surrounding that incident. They told me that at some point after the phone call to the police station, friends, the woman's name was Kerry Roberts, picked up Miss McCabe and John O'Keefe's girlfriend, Karen Reed, and they drove around and they discovered Mr. O'Keefe on the left side of the property. I would call it the east side of the property, unconscious and not breathing in the snow.
Okay, so I don't know if you caught that, but I'm trying to get back to you here. Hold on. Do you notice anything different did you notice what was different this time versus what he's saying here? Because this was last year, right?
No, I know that. I mean, it sounded, the part, go ahead. What are you going to say? Because I don't know. Some of it sounded very similar and some of it didn't.
Yes. So, yes. So what happened here, I got distracted by the comments. I'm sorry. He is talking about the injuries. In this test, he does not talk about a
Right.
medical event.
Right.
In this version of events, he's talking about bleeding. He's talking about an injury over his eye.
Right.
Right. He's not, and he's talking about the CPR. He's not talking, essentially indicating that there was a fight. And
right.
though they're not mentioning it this time,
Yeah, that's what it
conveniently
seemed like.
leaving it out.
Totally.
The story at the time
was that it looked like he got beat up.
He'd gotten into a fight.
Like Alan Jackson and Nanetti would say, it looked like he went 10 rounds with Mike Tyson.
Well,
Even in the blurred out videos of what, you know, how they blur out the death videos, even in those, you can see it's like, so gets mauled by arm mauled by, ripped up to shreds, 2 black eyes and a giant dent in the back of your head. Please tell me how anyone with any real education, any of these experts are going to try to say that that was due, that will, I would imagine, would put a lot of bad things on, like, that wouldn't look too good on you. Like, who in their right mind could say that this was the injuries of being hit by a car going how fast?
24 miles per hour.
I mean,
that was
everybody
actually,
understand
Becky,
that is
Paul
what their
O'Keefe.
argument is.
That was Paul O'Keefe that said that about Mike Tyson. That wasn't Alan Jackson. Paul O'Keefe.
Right.
Said that.
That's right. That's right. That's
so
right.
That was his comment when he saw his brother. What the hell happened? He looks like he just went 5 rounds with Mike Tyson.
That's right. You're right. That's right. It was him.
It was just a few with Higgins and maybe one big blow from Colin.
From the to the back. I think he just. I mean, you can see in all these videos how he
no broken bones. That's right. Yep, Debbie, you're absolutely so absurd. It's absurd.
I think maybe John was winning. Does anyone ever think of that? Did anyone ever think that maybe there was a fight and John was beating these people up?
It's an interesting point.
John, you know what I mean?
Sure.
But maybe at some point, and so I mean, I'm just saying, because he must be a lot taller than Higgins. I mean, Albert's a pretty big guy.
No, Higgins isn't short.
He's not.
They're probably
he looks shorter than Albert. Maybe, I don't know, but
I think they're both 6'2", about, I think. Well, I don't know. It's something to think about. I wonder, why is it, somebody remind me, why is it that we are all very convinced that John was dead like at 12:40? No, it's not possible, Andrea. It absolutely didn't happen. It's ridiculous. But that, you know, I guess my question is, why do we think that he must have died in the first 5 minutes? Like, what?
I don't think that he was dead. I think he probably went and like got hit in the head. I don't think it killed him instantly like a shotgun would.
No, that's not what I mean.
I think he probably went into
he was incapacitated within the first 15 minutes. What is the theory of that?
That is a really good point.
Because of timing.
Because no one's saying they saw him. I mean, I'm just giving you answers, but now I'm seeing what you're saying. Like, he very well could have still been in that house alive.
He could have still been in that house until, let's say, all right, feasibly
when the car, Lucky saw the car outside.
Well, I mean,
the Ford Edge.
He could have definitely been in the house. I don't think he would. My point is,
been out back.
Everybody appears to think that he must have, you know, sometime, not as quickly as the prosecution is saying, that he was down at 12:31 is what they're saying. The defense, I guess, all along, we've all assumed that he must have immediately gotten into the house, then immediately got into a fight, right?
Yes.
Why do we think that? If he had put his cell phone down and walked away, would there have still been Apple Health data?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I don't know, but we don't. But apparently that's not what happened.
Right. I know, Nola. The phone activity ended, and I know the phone activity ended, meaning he didn't have it in his pocket, right? But let's say he get into some kind of a fight, or he takes the phone out and puts it down. I guess we're assuming that because the phone wasn't in his pocket.
Right, because he wasn't responding to Sharon. That's
okay. Yep, right. Nope,
He wasn't. I mean, he
helpful.
wasn't. And
Yep.
then it goes from the time that Jen McCabe started
Yes.
calling. That was only a matter of 20 minutes. It had to have been
Well-
that something happened. I don't think
Right.
he was necessarily dead, but that something. I don't know. I
So
don't.
do we think? I mean, I know that Jen McCabe obviously is very involved in the cover-up side of things. Do we think that Jen McCabe saw what happened when it happened?
No, maybe not. I don't know.
It appears to me like she may not have.
It's also
Yes.
very possible. Like you may.
That's
well,
right. Sorry, go ahead.
Maybe he. I mean, maybe he did go through the garage. Maybe he didn't. I forget the layout. The door to the downstairs is like pretty close, right?
The door. Okay, so I actually have
What
it.
if he went around it down the back and just directly into the basement? Has that ever been?
Well, that's what I thought happened. He probably did because Higgins wanted to talk to him. It's a little weird to go right into the basement, but it could have been that Higgins met him right away at the door and said, I need to talk to you about something right away, and just grabbed him and walked right into the basement. I mean, that was my theory up until this all started again and I started learning more about Colin Albert. That is exactly what I thought had happened.
I think that Colin Albert might have made a comment or tried because he was already saying things about him. They had already had beef in the past.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. I mean, that came from Karen, I think, with the fighting with in the past, right? That was Karen remembering that they were neighbors.
Yes, I
The
think so. That they had some issues. Yeah,
they had issues, right?
There was some like not so good blood of some sort.
Karen had remembered there was the argument, yes, because they had been four houses down. They lived next to each other for a few years.
It could be that the dog just attached. Maybe it started with the dog. I don't know.
Could have been, but then that doesn't make sense to me because if it started with the dog, then why would everybody need to?
It makes more sense that if people were attacking him, that the dog would go after that, would follow the people, like follow the actions.
Nobody's in trouble if the dog attacks him. There's no reason to frame.
That's a good point,
right? The dog is
I didn't mean
legitimate.
that, like I meant like start like the dog maybe started like some like the energy in the air may have gone to.
I kind of hear what you're saying, but
I don't think
so.
I'm trying to think, I don't know what happened, but I know what didn't happen.
obviously. And
I'm just like,
right. We're just speculating entirely, but
because
I do have a video somewhere of the house. I'll have it for next time. I'll have the video of the house.
I want to go I did the tour last year. I went to CF McCarthy's, ate at the waterfall, and then drove by 34 Fairview. But I didn't take any pictures because my phone died.
Yes. So actually, I was thinking of going next week. Because so we can talk more about that offline. But I'm thinking of going. I don't. Maybe you guys know. Do we have court on Monday? Is court scheduled for Monday? Because that I was thinking Monday or Tuesday, perhaps. So we can talk more about it. But
yeah.
I'm thinking next week of going to.
I really want to look at
it.
I want to go back to 34 Fairview. I want to see it with my own eyes.
I know. I want to see I want to see the size of the lawn is really the only reason why I want to see it. Right. I really want to see the size of the lawn. All right. Well, it's getting late, everybody. We're almost 1 a.m. Oh my God. It's really late. Yeah, it's really late. It's getting really late. I appreciate you guys all so much. If I missed any of your comments, it's really because I don't know how to use this system, but I so appreciate.
I think you're doing pretty good, sis.
Well, the problem is I don't know how to scroll down on the starred comments. I feel really bad because people are sending me super chats and I can't get to them, but I promise to you that I will absolutely learn how to use this by the time I get back and do a next live. Thank you, sister, for being here with me.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. I'm excited for you.
Awesome.
And I'm just happy that all these people are.
We get to talk about the case.
Yeah,
they're
paying attention. They're paying attention.
It's good stuff. So hopefully we will all, live to see another day, fight on and fight the good fight some more.
Yes.
And
one love.
God only knows what tomorrow will bring.
I know.
Everybody
Can't wait.
Enjoy the rest of your night.
Yes.
Sissy, I'll see you
Thank
soon.
you. Bye.
Good night, everybody.
Free Karen Reed, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.